The Law Enforcement Pirate Radio Network. Radio Free Larry presiding.
You can run, but you can't hide.
Radio Free Larry.
All right, here we go again. It was mostly my cord to my headphone, or was my cord to my headphone. However, so you weren't probably hearing it. However, I did notice that my Lav 2 is starting to come apart at the jack. So it looks pretty gnarly. It doesn't look like it'll last all that long. My Lav 1 Kevlar cable is still running strong. Or not Lav 1. What is that thing called? The Go Lav, or Lav Go, I think it's called. Not the wireless Lav, but the Lav Go. Not the wireless Lav Go, but the Lav Go, which is simply a 3.5 millimeter Lav mic. And I bought the other as hoping it was an upgrade. And I don't know. It's just kind of strange. I like this mic. I don't know how it sounds to anyone else because I hear it in my headphones. Again, online it's not as well because it downgrades the audio quality. However, it has a great. If I were to record, it would probably have a better audio quality. So the Rode went away from the Kevlar cable, and probably was a bad idea. But it was dangerous. The Kevlar cable is dangerous. It's just a tiny little skinny cable, but it won't cut your head off, but it can strangle you. And they may have got sued, Somebody got garroted or something. I think I was once almost garroted by this thing. I mean, I was garroted, but it didn't harm me. I was like, whoa. Yeah, it's for mercenaries, you can if you're doing a podcast, use the wireless Go mic with a Kevlar cable, and you can always it doubles as a Garrett. Yeah, rip your mic out and take the opponent out when he attacks or she attacks. So again, there's a lot going on. So they say they're with the church and those type of things, or no, that God's doing it. And they do say they're with the church and other places, but they say God's doing it, but they're doing it. They're calling themselves God, but it is their God. It's Satan. So they do tell the truth. Now, but you have to see it, understand it. Again, the same thing with more, but I'm not spelling you to misspeak like that. There's a difference. Again, they mimic God, but it's not God. So with the opening theme there, you can run, but you can't hide. That was something I created a while ago, and they like trying to spin it around because they're stalking me. They're not in any official activity. And then one cop will say, "Well, as far as I'm concerned, I'm in a specific official activity because." Let me make sure this is transmitting. Because I have got to do some adjusting here, make sure the screen doesn't disappear. They'll say they're in a specific official activity because of A, B, or C, but it's all bullshit. I'm a victim. I'm supposed to be paid millions of dollars. They can go to hell for it. If they're not going to pay me, the grading of this planet will continue. There's other people you have to pay also. And you know who they are. Instead, they pay all this extra money to the operators that can't investigate their way out of a paper bag. Because that's really who they are. They can't investigate, so they commit crimes against people. And that's what they get paid to do. They create crime. They're forcing people to crime. Psychological force is probably worse than physical force because, and there is physical force in there, because if you say something about it, then everybody says you're crazy. Now, you run, you can't, you can run, but you can't hide. They like trying to reverse that and put that at me. Reality is, I'm speaking about God. So I laugh every time you try to put that thought out. I mean, your form of you run, you can't hide is temporal. God's you can run, but you can't hide is forever. And at this point, your idea of you can run, you can't hide is corrupt. Absolutely corrupt. Oh, but over here we do this work. That's a scam from Satan. It was here when Jesus was here. It was here when Mahatma Gandhi was here. It was here when the Hindu religion picked up and Krishna and all those people. Everybody knows about corruption. But you force everybody to like you, or you pay people to like you, or both. We're living wonderful, rich lives. Don't fall for what he's saying. God is blessing us and our church and our people. So what they're doing is revealing their spiritual, because eventually they get worked out to doing it out. So the church and people affiliated with the church are using spycraft, are using psychological warfare techniques. Again, what that is they would say crazy making, gaslighting, but it's weaponized. Again, I hate to use a term that the Republicans use because they are actually part of it. That's the scam. That's the Republican scam. Like they're not part of it because they're telling everybody where it is. Again, low Christ is here, low Jesus is here. He's not over there. Satan's here. Satan's not over there. Jesus is everywhere but nowhere. Satan is everywhere but nowhere. Why? What does the Bible tell you? They are where they are. It is what it is, and they are where they are. And they aren't where they aren't. So what they're doing is they're forcing people, in other words, they crazy make until the person does what they want, and then they let the person up for a little while. They'll tell you, oh, that person just won't learn. They just did it again. So again, every time their person heals and gets somewhere in life, then they attack. But it starts like this. They follow you around. They know you make a left turn at a certain intersection in life. Then they will you to make a right turn. The day you start making a right turn, they know that Satan, no, they would say God or themselves being powerful have now been able to make you do something. In the workplace, before they maybe move outside the workplace, they'll watch you. And will you not eat lunch? Or will you to do some work that they don't want to do? And then it happens for them. But of course, it's Satan. Some of them are in the mind that they're willing God's will, knowing that they're using their own will. And then some of them are in the mind going, well, I'm not doing anything. They can watch everything I just told you, and they can see it. I don't use my will. I can curse you, but if God doesn't want it to happen, it doesn't happen. In reality, if God didn't want me to curse you, I wouldn't go to that point, but I mean to that level, because I shouldn't have to curse you. I should have a life where God's whole idea was, they put him to sleep, but if he lives a life, a quality life, a certain level of quality, then it's okay with God. Now, Jesus had no place to live or lay his head, no place to live, but people, again, he explained how it worked. People would give him places to stay. People would feed him. At times, he lived a royal life, but it was very short. But again, like I've told you, you can't, Satan plays a game once the scripture's released, especially when it becomes really popular. So the idea of the workman is worth his wages, or the woman is worth her wages also, like you can extend it, is no longer true. Again, they've reversed it. The person that works hard doesn't get rewarded, but the person that has the reward says that they work hard. Again, Trump's hardworking American scam. But again, it's also in Democrats, it's also in non-political places, etc. So it's going to heat up here today, but it feels rather well because there's kind of a haze up there with some clouds. It's actually sunnier than it said it would be. It only showed that that was the one I was looking at. There's a couple others I could have looked at, weather reporting outfits. However, it only showed the sun peeking through a little bit, and then at a certain point, like I guess maybe now, that it would be half and half. And I'll tell you, there's not much cloud in the sky. Again, now it makes sense as to why it's going to be that warm. I couldn't figure it out. I'm like, how's it going to be that warm? It's like doom and gloom, and it's only going to get a little bit sunny, but it's well sun. But there's a little bit of haze. So again, when you hear that say you can run but you can't hide, I'm speaking about God. God let them go all those years fantasizing about what the words they use when I moved from the harassment and the torture to a new place to see if I could maybe have a better life there. They say I'm fleeing an investigation or I'm a fugitive from justice. That's the kind of stuff they say. I know they say it because they wanted me to see that they were saying it. So again, they've revealed everything because they're just nasty people wanting to, turn the screws so that maybe a suicide would happen or violence would happen. They're sickos, man. Every last one is a sicko obsessed with making other people sicker than them, or actually not sicker, because you have to understand, without them, the sick people don't exist. Or, they're very small, like we used to have. And now all the cops want to turn the screws to people that have psychological issues. Because why? Because they're part of the machine that causes the psychological issue, and they like to call it a gotcha. But it's not a gotcha. It's demonic. It's satanic. It's like saying Herod and Pilate and the Sadducees and Pharisees crucifying Christ was a gotcha. It's exactly the same mechanism that they're using. Well, part of this, and like somebody say, he's trying to shame you away from it, because you should be shamed. You should not be forcing people to, like I speak about Bezos, but they hit Bezos and his family. Now, at first I thought it could have been a physical hit. Like, somebody got his pictures of him nude for his girlfriend. and they did it physically, but apparently it was somebody in the family. So again, my mother did some stuff to me, so it's not really. Well, my point was, and I don't know if it got to Bezos, I can't remember how much I put it out there, is your brother's a victim of something, or his now his wife, his girlfriend, brother was a victim of something. So his brother-in-law was a victim of something that caused him to do it. Again, we call it mental illness, but it's so profound, or not profound. It's so prolific. They would think it's profound. Get that word out of there. But it's so prolific that they want you to believe a lie about it. It's not simple mental illness. This is causation by criminals in government and other places. And it's a science and a technology that was reserved to be used overseas. When they brought it on, they said, well, we're missing exploited. We're so-and-so. We're saving the children. Then you find out that they're risking the children. And then they get to the point of laughing about it, saying, well, we have money and God protects us. God doesn't protect them. Satan does. But they're telling the truth. Their God is Satan. Well, Jesus said that this was not his Father's kingdom, that there's only a certain level of protection here. They're saying that, no, the rich people are, again, the same things the Sadducees and Pharisees were saying. Now, when you go to Israel and the Jews, they say, well, Sadducees and Pharisees are us. But no, it's not. Study history. Learn history. Instead of being ignorant and sexual pawns for Satan to cause sexuality in people's lives that shouldn't exist. Now, am I saying gay? Well, yeah. It starts there. It's a game. In other words, if we go back through history, the gay people were spoken ill of because they were doing what the straight people are doing to gay people now. Sodom was not destroyed for being gay. Sodom was destroyed for forcing homosexuality, forcing a form of sexuality on another person. Because God's the only one that knows the person's journey, so they won't become a serial killer. But they know. They know if they deplete their person by trying to fight those spells, by trying to fight that physical activity, and that's the point I was just making. They're coming out about it, physically doing it, therefore we know they're spiritually doing it. They do it spiritually first before they do it physically. I hate to use spiritual in that regard because I would prefer to use metaphysical, because we denote spirituality with something positive. So they're driving around in police cars today, sexualizing the neighborhood with spells because your wife turned the officer down for sex or his boss is down for sex. And they said, get them. Or you bested them in the office because you could be another cop. Because if you're good at what you do, they're offended because they're horrible at what they do. Again, that's one of Trump's psychological things. Trump hates people that help him, that are intelligent, because he wants the credit. Even if you don't say anything, because that's one of the things they try to say. Even if you don't say anything about doing stuff for him, he's angry because he doesn't have your capability. He hates you because he feels insecure that you're around because you helped him. He's a sicko. Should have been in prison decades ago. It's not only Trump. There's other people. But he's the one that you see. Your police department's full of people like that. You can't defy them in whatever they say. In other words, they get to have sex with your wife and you have to sit there like a cuck. That's how they are. People in my office did that. There's somebody in my office that I know had sex with my wife, and another person that called her on the phone and tried to gaslight the event like it was her. She was offended by it. I just covered it up because that's the kind of guy I was. I was like, okay, whatever it was, it's gone. The person was going somewhere else anyway, so it didn't matter. Well, I believe in handling it mano a mano, and that's it. People owe me, believe me. People in the Marshal Service owe me more than anybody else probably in the Marshal Service. All the work I did, all the help I did, all the not attacking a coworker because everybody else was. In fact, inside, anybody can tell you everything that before Satan took fully over, everything I was involved in went up. So just being in the Marshal Service, it went up. It's not up now, it's corrupt. And you have to come in and sit in court, and there's no chance of going up to GS-12 automatically. They love that because why? Because they thought it was funny that somebody could be stuck at a GS-9 for the rest of their life. I don't know if that's happening. I mean, they might be good people and promote at least have that part. But again, that's the idea. So how do you get out of being a GS-9? Being a crook. You want to go to GS-11 or I guess GS-11, right? Right. You have to be a crook. That's how it is. So that's why they loved it. That's the way it used to be. That's how they get their jollies off. But right around when I went in the Marshal Service, everybody went to GS-12 automatically, just like the rest of the federal agencies. Now, they may have brought it back. I don't know. But that lower pay thing was directly a result of Satan and Satan's takeover of the Marshal Service. But again, what was that time? It was just about as I was leaving, right? And went in, they went up to 12. I left, they went down. Got their availability pay. They were, if you look at they were making the best money when I was there. And now they might be up with overtime. Everything's screwed up. So again, Satan can eventually pay you, but of course it's sin for a season. And if that season is the rest of your life, then that's the season. You're going to go to hell for it all. Now, no matter how many times you try to reverse it or how many times you try to reverse it. So again, they're forcing people into it with what we paid trillions of dollars to develop. A psychological program that forces people, degrades their ability to do what they know with their God-given self, actually possesses them and forces them to do what the spy master wants them to do. Now they'll tell you, spy master, you know what that is. That's us. We're taking care of things. We're protecting you and your money. Well, God will keep taking your money and I'm protecting you until you stop saying that. If you point to me and other people that aren't engaged in any type of crime as criminals and dangerous while you have sex trafficking and narcotics trafficking paying you money, God will continue to show you what danger really is. That's what's going on, period. If they weren't corrupt in these places, then God would be different and the planet would be different. Again, there was more of even though corruption existed before, it was different. It was smaller. So everything was more level. Even though things were a little crazy at times, it wasn't that overwhelming, crazy corruption that's going on. Well, the fact is this. We go to Ezekiel 34. It doesn't describe any particular person. Again, you want to talk about ink blots and psychological things and tests. Ezekiel 34 does not really point to anybody specifically. It's just kind of a general idea that there's a victim. Again, you go to the church, you go to the conservatives, the victim class, the victim consciousness. The Bible is all about victim consciousness. Again, who's their boss? Devil, Satan. So when you look at certain peoples and you look at LGBTQ, are they all perfect? No. Because why would you expect something from them that you don't expect from your society? But God has protection for people that are victimized. Churches will tell you have to believe in Jesus. Jesus didn't even say you have to believe in Jesus. If you cannot see spiritually, you don't have to believe in nothing because you're not going to be judged. When Jesus came to earth, he put about 5 mechanisms of being saved out there. And some of them had already been here. Again, Jesus was a Kabbalist. If you know anything about Judaism, Kabbalist goes against the grain of certain hierarchical establishments and peoples. Or organizations, should I say. Jesus was it's a Kabbalah. If you read it, it's Kabbalah in the way he's teaching it, but I was told through voices and spirits and God that it was a form of Judaism. Again, go study the 12 tribes as far as worship. 12 different ways of worship. If you study Judaism, you'll find something similar to Hinduism. Because we see it different today because it has kind of unified and went in one solitary direction mostly. Again, now it's expanding again. Or becoming known. Again, they were lesser. Kabbalah was a lot lesser. And if I say Kabbalah, you have to understand that Hasidic Jews and different varieties of Orthodox Jews believe in Kabbalah. And they study it. Now, that particular one that you see is something that became popular at a certain point. But it was an antithesis to Jerusalem. Jerusalem had a form of Judaism, and that's all they accepted. Again, it would be like Israel saying, no, there's nobody but this particular form of Judaism. Everybody else is a heretic. Again, you don't do that. That's probably the only thing you don't do wrong. But that's what was going on. So when we see Jesus and all these other people being oppressed, it's the same thing. Just because Jesus became Christian, and I don't think Jesus ever became Christian. Again, the Christians became Christians. And again, what it was called when it began, the church was not called the church. It was a messianic community. Again, if we go to, I think about the people in Miami, the Lubavitch in Miami, I think, there's a specific sect. It's kind of like that. I mean, they're kind of doing their own thing and they're very real. But I don't know exactly which temple they were in or synagogue they were in Miami, but I could see them on Collins. Again, the same corner where I took that man to McDonald's because he was freaking out. It might be Washington. Is it Washington is the one that goes where the people... This was where the cars are on Washington and Collins, I think it was, which is, I think, where the cars are on our next road over. I can't remember exactly where it was. But this guy was freaking out, and the thing wanted me to hate him. And I beat it, and I got him some McDonald's, and I think I left him with some money. I can't remember. I think I did. I usually do. But on that same corner, prior to that, which is maybe why I could see on that corner, see, where And again, I didn't know whether they're spies or real. That's the problem when they do this. And I'm not paranoid because there's people in every religion that are spies working officially for spy organizations. But they're on the corner. And my big thing is that God is still speaking. So they're saying God is still speaking. So again, that's suspect. I mean, it could still just be the same vibration. And it isn't like there's a way in outside of, that doesn't play into whether I speak to them or not. But they were kind of silent on the corner, and they were holding up signs saying that God is still speaking, which was big. I don't know if they do it anymore. I haven't seen it since. But it may have been a way to try to get me into their organization, and not to save me, but to try to set me up. But that same corner, if they were honest, because again, they could be either vibration. They could be the one that wanted me to hate him because they placed demons and devils at that intersection. Because they're working for spycraft things. Or they healed it enough that I could see to the man and understand that he's not to be hated and he's not doing anything wrong and I should buy him something. And there was the one miraculous one. Again, if you hadn't killed me, this is where I'd be for sure. Because I wouldn't have left Philadelphia. But I was in Philadelphia riding my bicycle down at, there was, City Hall. Was it I don't remember what corner. It's an Indian restaurant. I'm out of the Indian restaurant. Grabbed my bicycle. I think it was Indian restaurant. Grabbed my bicycle. I think that's what it was. And I looked, and there's a black man, very similar to Neely. Very similar. Almost a spitting image. Cute food. And he, God cues me into him. This is watch the sky. He goes to the corner and he starts yelling. He's just screaming and yelling and screaming and yelling. And I healed him. And it didn't happen right away. It took about 30 seconds of holding my hand out and I was blowing air from my mouth. God calls it a bird blessing. He taught it to me very early on when I woke up. I haven't used it a lot lately, but I've seen it like replicated in places. I showed you that one video where the young girl was doing that. It was like strange. However, I did that for about 30 seconds. You can watch him think, stop, and then walk off. But I know it works. Now, again, does it work every time? No, because devils are in government, devils are in religion, and they're trying to own the healing and say that person gets healed and that person doesn't. But what are they actually doing? Telling themselves a lie. Nobody gets healed. If Satan could heal nobody, then Satan would heal nobody. Or cause, I wouldn't say Satan heal, but if Satan could cause, I guess that's true too. If Satan could cause nobody to be healed, then Satan would do it. But forward Satan's plan, some people have to be healed. When you get to hell, nobody's healed. No, there's no structure in it. It's chaos. It's actually the epitome of your minds running your own world. Because what you're actually saying here is condemning yourselves. You're not good people. You're the bad people that you say everybody else is. So therefore, you'll be judged in hell. What you say here will happen in hell. Here, it's an illusion. What time is it now? Almost 30 minutes, I guess. I should make them shorter. I've been trying to make them shorter. They're doing some painting and cosmetics around here. Except the rooms are kind of small. I mean, I knew that moving in. It was just a kind of generally nice room for the money. And, it's just kind of still a mellow place. It's just, there's a lot of people who use drugs and they don't like cops and they think I'm a cop. I mean, it's weird. The last couple times that I was speaking to the man that won't speak to me now, and it was rough. I was trying to move. I told you they were kind of weird. And then, of course, he's going to try to think about me being weird or the reason is me. But I walked outside the room and an Alexa PD dropped by, I waved and I healed them. So I think that's what set him off. It happened a couple of times. Like I'm sending you the high sign to arrest somebody or something. Again, Satan set it up, but again, the moment was a godly moment. So again, something like that, I don't need to worry about that much. I mean, I am somebody that will reach out to people, but you know, I'm going to live my life. If I want to heal somebody, I'm going to heal them, whether you be a cop or somebody that hates cops. That's part of what angered them. I healed black people. They were cursing black people when I was healing them. And of course, and they tell, and you know, one of the young black guys in Mount Laurel came up to me and told me what the cop was saying about me. So no, this isn't from the VA. I don't have any issues from military. The issue is what happened in the government and what they're doing to me. And then I explained what was happening. To explain away what they're doing to me, they try to say, you know, it's PTSD from the military. No, it's PTSD from CIA operation. But I could heal if they would stay away, if they were forced to obey the law. And I've healed millions of times. And I'm not crazy. It's just, how do you function in a society that's being moved against you with money, moved against you with extortion? And again, they know what they're doing. They're recreating a prisoner of war camp scenario in the open community. As close to it as they can get it. They're sickos, and they'll burn in hell. There's no way out for them. You have to understand it. You know, and I bring up what Piper said. It's funny because Piper said there's no more wrath for the believer, but you have to be the believer. You can't be some fake person. And that's not like a sinless thing. They would tell you, well, we look pure, so therefore we must be the believer. That's not what it says. So if you go back to ancient Israel, you'll find that the Sadducees and Pharisees are not Israel. And again, I saw the word the other day as far as, you know, Herod was a lackey of Rome. And that's why Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Shimon or Shimon, whatever you want to say, had issues. Same as Jesus. Who was Jesus? Oh, he's a Christian, a goyim. No, he's not. He's a Jewish Kabbalist. So I didn't get to finish exactly. He came from Galilee. From what I understand, the tribe was Dan, I think. I think some of his worship is related to the tribe of Dan, his form of worship, relationship with God. So it would be the tribe of Dan's Kabbalah. That's what I think, because it's been years since I moved through that thought. I think Galilee was Dan. Or Nazareth, whatever. I think they're both. You know, or was it Nazarene? Was it Nazarene? I think maybe the Nazarene religion. It was tribe of Dan, though. That's what I was told. So when Jesus went to Jerusalem, it's like, you know, being in a church and you know, like the snake biters. Not that I believe in that. Again, you're tempting the Lord your God when you are messing with snakes. That you're not supposed to do that. But it's like, you know, to them it was like that. Like a snake biter guy goes to D.C. and stands in the middle with rattlesnakes in the middle of the, you know, Washington Monument, letting people bite him. Not letting the snake thing, but, you know, the snake bites him and he's, oh, no, I'm safe. And then the snake bites him, whatever it is. Or even if it didn't bite him, you know, PD be there in a second. But Jesus wasn't doing that. He was simply giving the people an empowered form of spirituality, which went against the grain of the corrupt government, the corrupt Sadducees and Pharisees. And really, you know, something's reminding me, in 1970, it was almost the same way. You had pretty much conservative, Orthodox, Reformed. Anything else is taboo. Because it empowers. So, you know, Jesus may have had some of his own stuff in there. And I don't believe, you know, no matter what the texts say, I don't believe he believed that he was God. Now, could he have lost his mind at the end of his life and believed it? Yeah. Do I have a problem with that? No, because I know what they do. But I don't believe he said that. I believe he was just speaking about like qualities and indwelling. I've been there. I mean, it's very difficult today to get there, but I've been where God has indwelled me and where I'm actually moving very much in unison with God. I wouldn't say as God completely, but again, as the heavenly host. But he's not God. He said, because his language is telling you he's not God. I will go to my Father. You know, the one that sends cannot be the one that's sent. The one that's sent cannot be the one that sends. And that's very easy to understand. Except if you're a Christian. So if you're a Jew, you should understand that Jesus said that he's a son of God, which is a Ben Elohim, and that's in Kabbalah. It's very easy. He said that that which is sent cannot be that which sends, which means he's not God. He said, don't call him good because there's only one good, and that's God. Now, when I was studying that, it doesn't say it in the scripture, but that's God that's in heaven. And what does that mean? Well, here, God does things because of the necessity to work through this system. In heaven, God doesn't have to do that. Where God is right now in his original form, in her original form, whatever you believe, God is perfect because there's none of this spiritual chaos that's occurring on this planet. Well, it's just like Jesus. His intention is to do well. God's intention on this planet is to do well, but he has to actually move through violence and other things. And that's because you all are violent. And you all caused a system that says people have to be violent to have A, B, or C happen. So again, you're spelling your own demise. You're casting will out there that causes God to have to harm all of you, have to destroy your money. I tried to go back to work. I told you that. I don't know if you heard my other stuff. They wouldn't let it happen. If I had gone back to work, people would fire me, and it would be a worse situation because a boss has more control. Now, eventually, they did it in the gyms, and I had to get away from them. But unfortunately, that was where I get my massage. So again, I figured it out later that they were taking me away from anything that was healthy, anything that was massage. I was actually using massage beds. And I guess that looked bad for their case because saying, look, he's using massage and there's nobody there. He's not looking to have something weird with a woman that was looking for something weird to happen between me and her. So again, you have to understand their will is what they're saying I'm doing. What they're doing and what their will is, and quite frankly, what their spell, curse, and psychological operation is to cause me to do something wrong. So I've been tested for decades, and I come up holy and pure in reality, but what happened? You allowed them to engage in the most heinous criminal activity, the most heinous evil they could ever engage in. And that's an attempt to psychologically torture somebody into an altered psychological state. Again, in Project Artichoke, they called it hypnosis. So again, if I were to do what they want, then I would get up higher and higher, but I'd probably be a porn star. I joked about it one time. I said, I'm going to be a porn star if I don't find a woman by my birthday. Again, that was an investigative technique. Now, they'll go, see, he made us do it. No, you committed crimes, all of you. There's nothing I made you do that was a crime. I made you expose yourselves because I have to know what's going on. I have to survive. The community has to survive. I have to know that guy over there committed suicide because of you. Because if I don't witness it, then you get bigger, and then another 15 people commit suicide because of you, because of Satan, your boss. Because me speaking is very powerful. That's why the founding fathers said freedom of speech. That's why Jesus used speech. That's why the prophets used speech. And they know it. That's why they try to restrict it. Now, you have to understand, when this started, they'll go, oh, see, this is why we did this. When they started this, they just were taking somebody out that they knew would not be a crook, and that was better at everything than they were. But yeah, I was fully asleep. And again, we go to Russia. So again, they go, well, you said it was this. It all ties together. Russia was paying. Who else wants the best government employees and military people taken out? Russia. Back then, especially. Now China and others also. Oh, you must be talking about Biden. See, he's a sitting president, and they accuse him of what they're doing. Now, I didn't have the life of Hunter Biden, one direction or the other. Again, see, Hunter Biden stayed in money because he did what they wanted. But again, they controlled him into it. Again, why is that judge sitting on that bench trying to fix a ticket, fix a felony sex trafficking thing? I think now it's like a fine and a ticket. Well, DHS isn't interested. They're on the take. I guess the sheriff didn't get enough money that week. Or maybe he's honest. Because of everything that I'm saying. That's why the judge is there. He's not good enough to really be a judge. Because the people that are good enough to be a judge are either dead or dead broke. Wounded in action for God. Oh, they can't find. Sounds like he's going to be somebody rising. He must be. Yes, he must be, Judge. Look at the shooter in Kenosha. I call him the shooter in Kenosha. He's the shooter. None of them should have been in that situation. So again, we say he was right for bringing an AR-15. It was reckless. It's not right. It's not okay. A 17-year-old corruptly buys an AR-15 to take it to Kenosha across state lines. Because he's going to save the city from what? From the people that the psychological operators whooped up into that? He's the hero, right? That's why Neely got strangled, because that guy has it in his mind. That's how life works. Again, I told you, I've been there. I've talked to them. I've talked to ones that were so far out there, but because God is with me, because I allow God to be with me instead of Satan, like all of you that go to church and all that, I could see wisdom in what he was saying. And I could see things about him that there's no way that I could have known. Back then when I was more in the street, walking around helping people, I told people everything they ever were. And there's people here listening to me right now, the law enforcement, I'm telling them everything they ever were. Sometimes I don't even know I'm doing that. Kind of like that slumped over like Brian Laundrie thing. There, but not there. Oh, that means you're the Antichrist. No, Satan mimics God. So you see how they do that? Everything about Satan is a mimic of God and God's true people. So they're turning the children against the fathers and the fathers against the children specifically. It's not just like happening now. It's a specific operation of government. So if you're in the Marshal Service and you don't do the crime, they'll turn your children against you. They try to turn you against your children. Am I wrong for having left my family? No, I couldn't stay there. God was offended. I wasn't offended. God was. He said they made their decision. They all made their decision. Now, of course, I took care of them. I mean, when you retire from the government on disability, you have to first go get Social Security, which is bullshit, because Social Security has nothing to do with what they did to me. Although I think now some of them are corrupt. But what that does is if you have children, young children, they get checks. So she didn't only get the child support, she got the checks. And of course, she felt great for those years because, wow, that's a decent amount of money. But again, she made her choices. I made a last-ditch effort to get back with her. She didn't, somebody called her and supposedly was my gay boyfriend. Again, the government's probably part of that. How much of it, I don't know. So she said, forget about it. I'm like, what? Here I am sitting in an isolated life. Anytime I even get close to a woman, they mess it up. That's government. They're protecting the women, okay? But I'll tell you, those women had shitty lives, a lot of them. Not all, but enough of them. Because they were the queen of the ball while the government was around them, or some they made afraid. And then some were both. They made them afraid, then they paid them. I surmise what they're doing is stripping away any credit for anything I've ever done. So again, I helped raise Jay, and Jay turned out great. So they want to say, oh, no, he raped Jay. He had sex with Jay. So he has to be gay to be that. Plus, they're psycho. They want me gay. It's just something they're obsessed over. Because I'm not aggressive like that. I'm not hurting because I must be gay. I mean, this is the mentality of the pieces of shit I worked with. And they're out there right now, driving around your community going, that person's gay because they're nice. Let's make that person a crook because they're nice. What you saw happen, the carelessness, the aggressiveness, the uselessness of those officers in the George Floyd situation is going on out here psychologically all day long. That's why that happened. Again, I don't blame Chauvin as much as the world does. But yet it's still wrong. Because Chauvin was a byproduct of the community, law enforcement community that made him aggressive, that made him violent, that made him not give a shit. They'll tell you, well, because you can hear them trying to make excuses. Well, that's what we have to deal with. Nah. What you have to deal with is because you messed up the world to begin with. Again, we go back all the way to Jesus, and I realized that you crucified Jesus and still do. Does that make me anti-law enforcement? No, I'm pro-law enforcement. I might be the only thin blue line guy left. No matter how many times you try to curse my hat off my head. So that's the way it really works. The rest is fake. And what do you think's happening out there in your church today, in your synagogue today? If your holy person were to speak the truth, they wouldn't be there anymore. They wouldn't be there anymore. Now, we'll go to like the Trumpians and go, well, they're speaking truth. No, they're not. They're just the other side of the crooked coin. They're all the same. You can't do anything nice for them and have to do anything nice for you because why? They work for Satan. So at the end of the day, they're going to do what Satan wants them to do in your life, which is make you a criminal or a sinner or whatever it is. I guess I'm going to end up speaking about an hour. No, you have to understand the degradation of law and order is at the hands of people responsible for that. And I guess they're responsible for it, but they're not law and order. They're making crime. Whoa, hey. Florida license plate, get a new license. So you're telling us we need you to be crooked because you were crooked and caused crime and harmed people so their minds couldn't see not to be criminals. I mean, it's deep psychology. They know if they come into your community and do certain things to you, that you're going to grow up and, most likely not be able to control yourself into not being a criminal. with malice, forethought, criminal intention. They don't call it criminal intention. They don't like it being said like that. Because they don't have criminal intention. They're FBI, DHS, police department, intelligence agency. I'm a doctor. I'm a this. I'm a that. No respect to persons here. That means whatever you do is not what I or God looks at. You could be a prostitute on the street, but if you're a nice person, God will honor you. In heaven, of course. Remember, life part 2 is more important than life part 1. And again, if you're Hindu, I guess you go part, the next life is more important than this life. But they believe and it could be true. You could very easily have this trail that they speak about, a reincarnation. Now, is that everybody? No. Again, so if we look at something like, I live a life sometimes, especially when I'm up and they don't have me down low, and intrinsic protection and power, like quantum leap. But the thing talking to me is God and the spirits. See that thing talking to him? But, the thing for God is, I'm that thing. God has me as an advisor. Now, does God need me as an advisor? No. But why does God have me as an advisor? Because it works that way. He's not like, here, let's make everything break and say we're wonderful. I advise God on the condition of this planet. Now, God makes the decisions, but I witness it, I analyze it, and I speak to God about it. Are you going to ever stop me from doing that? Well, probably if I'm comatose. Probably tried it a ton of times. It just didn't happen, right? They don't even tell you. They don't want to tell you about that part. The divine intervention that kept me alive through this. They don't want to tell you at all about that. Only that I'm a sinner, a dirty version. He's evil, a criminal. We got cold cases. Cold cases, everyone. Crucify him. Think of the evil and the criminality of taking cold cases and putting them on innocent victims and knowing it, fully aware. Meanwhile, the crook that did it, greasing palms, walking through life laughing, could be the actual investigator, because that would be the psychology in reality of what they're doing. Not the bullshit they're speaking about. And that's why they speak the psychology against their victims, because they know it points at them. Oh, we care about the children. You're getting children raped with that psychology. You do not control the people that you psychologically disrupt and cause issue in their lives. I don't care if you watch them 24/7. What was that one case in Florida? God had me focus on that. The one girl, she was in a Walmart. Guy came up, offered to buy them clothes. Again, he's living a great life. While they're dogging me when I buy people things and don't even ask for nothing. Don't even care if I see them again if they just want to go off and have their own life. But he gets in there, wants to buy people clothes. Or the girl clothes. The mother lets because she's poor. Why is she poor? Because they won't let somebody marry her. Again, there's both sides of the coin. There are women that they paid for the moment or feared for the moment or both that never had a great life after that. They were the queen of the ball while I was there and they were interested in me. Whether it got to a conversation or a marriage or a relationship or nothing or a friendship or anything, we don't even go there. Just a simple action. The evil action. So he goes into Walmart. And I can't remember if he was a sex offender. I think he may have been a sex offender already. She was dead, I think, within minutes. Raped and dead in minutes. But they're protecting the community, right? For all we know, they created him. So they can get the way to point the crime at other people. Instead of themselves and their cronies. I believe it works like this also. They're investigating crime. They see it's a millionaire. Somebody goes in that guy's life. They make them afraid. When they're supposed to be using that for what? Supposed to be using it for investigative technique. Make the person afraid they're going to be arrested. Somebody comes in and drops the boom while they're sending those subliminal messages. Pay the money, and you're good. Pays the money, then they take the case. Somebody else says, we need to take that person out over there. They take the case. Oh, he did this. Big case, big case. Give us money for this case. Well, this man over here is a rapist and a murderer. Meanwhile, the rapist and murderer just already paid them $100,000 to walk off. That's the state of the union. Oh, you sound like you're not patriotic. Trump was speaking about a guy like this. Biden speaks about somebody like this. Depending on the audience. But guess what? The Bible and God, the Torah and God, the Hindu scriptures and God, the Sikh scriptures and God speak about all of you. And there's only one place you're going. And that's hell. In hell. No matter how many times you create hell on earth or hell on this planet that you call earth, you will go to hell. You will burn for an eternity. Even if it's only 1,000,000 years. Because it ain't no 10 years, 5 years. Satan has you in a motion right now that you're forgiving because you went to church and walked down to the altar and now you're forgiven. Jesus told you there are things you cannot be forgiven from. And it's more about the action of it than it is the sin. The sin must come. Don't cause somebody to fall. But how much of law enforcement is involved in causing people to fall? At least 40% above the, not above the board, officially. Unofficially, probably 80%. That's why crime's like it is. It ain't people just being criminals, they're being forced to it. Psychological force that we used in Vietnam, psychological force that we used in the Persian Gulf, psychological force that we used in Iraq and Afghanistan, in places that we weren't supposed to be, in places where CIA is today. You will burn in hell. Well, stay peaceful, and I'm real about that. Don't be violent. Don't act out against them. Just get with God, and God will take care of whatever needs to be done. And God is God alone. Praise God in all that you do. Praise God.